Good afternoon, everybody. It's Shauna and Jessica Gray here. We recently just flew in last night. We wasted no time. So it almost is right after the conference here, the day of. But we recently went to the National Association of Elementary School Principals Conference in Seattle. Not a horrible time to visit Seattle either. The weather was beautiful. But we wanted to go ahead and host a quick call. I know as a building principal, even during the summer, things were crazy busy for me, and I was not able to attend these sorts of things. And that's one of the things that Step Up is committed to trying to attend things that as busy administrators and instructional leaders, you may not be able to do, and to keep you apprised of the trending and newing things that we learned. So we're going to dive in and let you know a few highlights. Of course, it's a little bit, related to the sessions we were actually going to do. But first, we have to celebrate and brag. Check it out. The keynote on day one, which is actually last Friday, was Damon John. And yes, we are totally nerds. We sat in the back and we did whatever it took to make sure that we got our picture with him. So we had to share that on the call. But he was actually a really great speaker. And while he's known for FUBU and he kind of shared his journey as an entrepreneur, he's a great speaker and he infused a lot of great music into it because that's a lot of part of his story. But he had some big takeaways. And while he's an entrepreneur, he did a really great job of connecting it to principles. And he said he uses the acronym of SHARK. Many of you may have recognized him from Shark Tank. And he said that every day you need to set goals. So this is how, even though he came from the lens of an entrepreneur, we could be doing this in our daily lives. He talked about it as a stay-at-home mom, as a teacher, just how do we keep thriving in our own work? We set goals. He was talking about how he read those goals every day that he woke up and every morning that he went to bed. He did his homework. And I think as leaders is doing our homework of knowing your audience and knowing your teachers. What do they understand? What do they need? How do I support them? Um, A is, just help me with that.
More. So it
Oh,
was
just
all
love.
about the love and
Yeah.
finding that
Thank
joy
you.
in what you do.
Okay, I think that's French, right? So, that's I'm like, wait a second, that's not in English. Yes, to always have the love and passion. And, he went so bold to say, if you're in your profession right now and you're losing that, you do need to think about it. And I think as leaders, that's the point. When we're rejuvenated and we're loving what we do, then it passes that love and joy to other people. He also said, remember your brand and think about 2 to 5 words that maybe represent you as you're with teachers, maybe that represent your building or your district. This is not a new concept for us, even with DeFore's work of having that mission and that quick statement that everybody remembers. Like, what are we here for? What is my brand? What do I stand for? What does my building of teachers stand for? And then K, entrepreneurs, anybody, leaders, you have to just keep swimming sometimes and keep your head down and doing the hard work. So he was great. Um, Another day one session highlights that I want to give a shout out. We had major Missouri representation at this national conference. So while there were states all over the US, our own Missouri Association of Elementary Principals, you probably know the women in that group, led by Jonna Sutton and Ramona. Oh gosh, Ramona, I can't remember your last name. Stephanie Jackson, a lot of other amazing leaders, Becky Slater, um, I'm sorry, I should have written all of their names on here. Debbie Land. They all showed up and talked about how in Missouri they have created this United We Lead women empowerment. They had very cute shirt and jackets, by the way, and really presented to other states about this need for community and ideal of how women shouldn't be competing against each other, but working as a team. And it was really inspirational. And I think it's great if they are leading the charge and inspiring other states to do that. I know it was inspiring to me. We're a team of all women and just how we can show up beyond work, but just be there for people. So way to go, team. So proud of our Missouri principals. Beth Huff is another Missouri principal. She had 3 sessions. She is now at Capital City High School. I knew when she was formerly at Fulton, but she led 3 great sessions. So congratulations to her, and Stephanie Jackson and Amanda Jackson from Sedalia were also represented. So we couldn't go to every one of their sessions, but we definitely wanted to give them a Missouri shout out, and great job to represent our state and being leading educators. And Jess, I'll let you take it away. You couldn't attend it all, you guys. There were so many great classes, but I'll let you share what you learned.
We did. We had a hard time. So we divided and conquered, and Shauna got to go hear the amazing Missouri girls. And I actually went to a session put on by the Harvard Principal College. And it was a really, really great session about what are the high leverage practices that administrators need to run great buildings. And those four things that they really pulled out was instructionally and focused conversations, building a productive climate, facilitating collaboration and PLCs, and then managing personnel and resources strategically. And I just loved how they put these into four bullets because it seems manageable. It seems like we can really take some of those things and focus on them. I'll say a lot of the conversation at the conference and during this session was this instructionally focused conversations. We're having lots of conversations about how do we help our teachers be more instructionally focused and moving those scores. They referenced a lot of research done by the New Teacher Project and how that research really brought out this idea that teachers really aren't teaching to the standards. We're just kind of picking and choosing what we want to teach and what feels good. And that a lot of our assignments and assessments that we're giving students aren't aligned to the standards that we're expecting them to master. So it was some really great data and just a lot of ahas for a lot of people in the room. And it was great to collaborate with so many people from other states who are seeing the same things we see here in Missouri. Another thing I wanted to point out too is if you can reach out to Shauna or I and we can direct you to the right place, but they have so many amazing course offerings that are virtual that you could attend as an administrator and really just expand your knowledge of what you're doing in your work every day. And they had a lot of really reasonably affordable and time constraint. I feel like they had a lot, they were really working on how to maximize your time and not it feel so much because they know how much work you have to do. So just a great thing if you're thinking about extending your education and your learning, check out Harvard Principal College because they've got a lot of great offerings.
They do, and a lot of people don't know they even have summer offerings where you can go on campus. Now, the drawback is it's pretty costly, so some of the online are more affordable. But just to plug, we actually have used some of these classes within our own business. We've taken marketing classes and different things there. Sometimes it is time intense, so just check it out. It would be a great thing to do in the summer, but there is opportunity there.
The another session I went to on day one was an early childhood session put on by Northeastern State University. Barbara Jones was the professor's name that presented this. And I just thought we have been talking a lot because of our new pre-K book, our new MELT book. We've been talking a lot about pre-K and how important early childhood is. One statistic she gave is that it was a really high percentage. I'd have to look back through my notes, but I want to say like 70% of your building, if you are a K-5 building, is considered an early childhood because early childhood spans from birth to age 8. So I thought that was really crazy about how we don't often consider our first and second grade students as early childhood, but they are. They're still doing a lot of these things that they need developmentally. But she really focused on as a leader, if you don't have early childhood background, what can you do to support your early childhood staff because we know how important that is. And she really talked about being present, not just for behavior, but really having conversations, being in their classrooms, knowing what's happening. What is it supposed to look like? Students should be engaged in play and having conversations and talking. And so, how does that look different than maybe your third or fourth grade classrooms? And then ensuring that those teachers get PD. A lot of times we lump them in with our higher grades, and they need some different, more strategic support and what can you do to provide that for your early childhood staff and make it feel relevant to them in their classrooms? Always support play-based learning. She gave so many great statistics. We know how important play is, and I pulled a couple quotes up top, but like play is universal, but it's also uniquely personal, and how much kids learn from play and through play. And then advocating for those quality experiences. Be the advocate for your early childhood people. They need advocates now more than ever, especially when it comes to professional development that supports what they do in their work, and how instrumental it is for your entire building for your students to have that great foundation. I pulled a graphic from her session. I thought this one was so great. She's got the blooms, their taxonomy, and talking about how that in pre-K we really need to take our kids through those levels of learning and above, and we really want to get them to that creating level where they're engaging in conversations and doing all the things we know that's going to support their math and literacy improvement as they go through the other grades.
Awesome. And I just want to reiterate, we know that the governor of the state, everybody is investing a lot of money in early childhood, and that has just been something that's often overlooked. And so, if that's something, I know I would have struggled as a K-5 principal of how to really support pre-K. You might even know that we have a package where we can support that, and we have this new book coming out because while it is play-based learning, there are specific standards that we really need to be doing. And just so those of you on the call know, we're trying to reach outside public school systems and into these private sectors. It will only do us more good if we can spread the word and support teachers before that we get them in kindergarten. So thank you, Jess, for sharing that. Day 2, many of you have probably heard of Goldie Muhammad. She was fantastic, and of course, we were nerding out because she really dove into curriculum, and we got to meet her too. We were actually first in line here. Like, we figured out the system, and we were hustling, and there were thousands of people here. So this was a pretty big feat. But we also got to do a lunch session with Goldie, and I'm gonna get ready on the next slide to talk to you about her work, but I just have to say, what a phenomenal, authentic person, too. She really talked about the history of what brought her to this work and the power that she's seeing in it because she does this work and also consults and teaches in schools and is really uh, piloting what she's doing, which is great. Not just like some people just patting off. She's in the work doing it with schools. And she talked about that one of the things we need to keep in mind. And, of course, I think sometimes when we think diversity, everybody goes right to, maybe Black kids because and Hispanic because that's what we most serve. But really, it's recognizing, diversity of all types. And she said her approach that she suggests, because we've kind of lost the love of journey learning, she's got 2 books, Cultivating Genius, because every kid has a genius and we need to be looking at it and what they can bring to the table. And then Unearthing Joy, she wrote post pandemic because she realized the need that teachers need to unearth that joy. And unfortunately, because we are so standards focused sometimes, an assessment driven by accountability, we do lose our joy. And so she gave this approach of, hey, when you're coming in and you're going to start the left hand of this tree over here and kind of go through that, start your lessons with identity. Where do you see yourself in this lesson, in this text? What does it mean to you? Determine your skills, which is step up is all about skills, right? Like what standards do so she talked about even giving an inventory to kids. So before you're going into a unit or before you're planning something, what do you want to learn about? And guys, we have so much scripted curriculum. Maybe this is just a unit. You stick with your regular pacing guide, but you take some time to say, or here's some options. What would give them some voice and choice? What would you like to learn about? Figure out, this very much goes with integrated units and PBL, everybody. What standards am I going to cover? How am I going to spark a child's intellect with my questioning? How am I going to spark their criticality? And then how am I going to bring joy? And I would argue, so the first 4 she talked about in Cultivating Genius, she added joy to the tree in her works of Unearthing Joy. But I would say if you are truly tapping into their identity, and having them think and think critically, you are going to be adding joy if we add that relevance piece. And so she also, and when it's available, I think she's probably going to be on our podcast, so look out for that, which is going to be exciting. But she's also like actually creating some text sets and curriculum where lots of different types of kids can see themselves, and their identity. We were thinking that Ozarks, how we could even be doing Missouri history and helping kids understand the history of our state and where they come from and their ancestors they may not know. And we a lot of times overlook that in learning. So we were really impressed with her personally and of course with her work. And so we'll keep you up to date when some of her new things are available.
One other thing that I attended on day two was the session was completely packed. It was put on by a principal from South Dakota, and it was a great session. But the room was full of people because I think this is so applicable to what we're doing today. But the title of it was Bite-Sized PDs, and I loved that name because we all know we want to take a bite of something and it needs to be quick. We know how quickly we need to get PD to our teachers and that we just don't have a lot of time. And so, how can we maximize our learning time and professional development? So, a couple of the big things I pulled from him was the idea that adults don't learn the same as kids. And a lot of times, our professional development days are set up to learn like students. And so, how can we shift our thinking to more of this adult learning theory? And there is a lot of great things about that and about those six assumptions of adult learners. So if you have not done research on that, I highly recommend it. He gave a lot of great ideas and just pulled some different research about adult learning and how true that it is that we learn differently than we do than students do, and that we need to make sure we're honoring that for our staff and our teachers. But the big six things he pointed out for six standards for your professional development is that you've got to give them things that can be sustained. What are those things that can be built on over time, not just your one and dones, your feel goods? We have a lot of those, right? Where we bring it in and we pump them up, but those things fade over time. But being mindful about what can I sustain and keep going from PD to PD for my teachers to make sure that their learning stays current and relevant. Intensive, making sure that it's things that are related to them and it's motivating them to learn, and how can they find those things and how can they apply it to their classroom. Being collaborative, job embedded, all these things we know, data driven, making sure that we are really doing things and implementing strategies for our teachers that are going to drive that data and that are driven by data. What is the data telling us that our staff needs? What's the data telling us our students need? Are those things improving? Circling back to, let's take a look again at the data. Are the things we're implementing actually working, or do we need to shift and adjust? And then classroom focused. Your teachers want something they can take directly back to their classrooms. They want things that they can implement right away. They want to learn it and use it. So, what are those things that we can be doing for them? And just a little plug or pointing out, when you are a Milne Pro member, or if you pay that subscription for our digital access, you have this access to Milne Pro, which is our micro PDs. And if you aren't sure how to navigate that and you're listening in, you're like, oh, I want to do that, just shoot me an email and I'll send you the link. Everybody should have this, and you should be looking for this too, because I think Val is going to be sending this stuff out again, to make sure that you know about these PDs for you and your teacher. But they're 15 to 20 minutes. They're really short, simple, and they always have a direct point to them. So a learning focus, so that you can narrow down what it is that you want to listen and learn to, and so can your staff.
All right. Well, and that email is coming out. I know we're finalizing it today. So in the next day or two, so just hold on. All of our, unless you're not a current client and you're not a member, we do have the ability where you can just join as a member to get access to that and then get discounts on our things. But for those of you who are listening that are clients, that will be out. This has been something that a lot of our clients don't partake of because it is in a different software and it's housed differently. But those of you working with consultants, we're going to be trying to do a more diligent job showing you as leaders how we have this huge library of things that you can be using to have more time. And to me, Jess, I'm just going to kind of wrap it up. I think it goes back to some of the things Goldie was talking about, right? With great learning that we're going on in your identity. Who are you as a teacher? What is it you're really wanting to learn? What's sparking your interest? And we're going to give you those resources to think about critically that you can do. And as a leader, you cannot know it or have it all. So you need resources at your fingertips too. So that's what we're trying to do here. So thank you so much for listening. We hope everyone is having a crazy summer and it's almost over. Everybody, brace yourself for coming back, but we are so grateful for the work that our principals do, and we appreciate you every day, and we hope this kind of gave you a little bit of insight and PD to think about, and we wish you the best. Thanks.